this workshop, entitled Randomized Controlled Intervention During Early Childhood, and by that we mean prior to school entry, so prior to age 5. Opportunities and challenges to prevent disruptive behaviors. We will have 3 presentations because unfortunately one person is stuck in Dallas. Presentation by Dr. Carolyn Webster Stratton, whose work is so solid about the experimental interventions, the preventive programs that can be done for disruptive behavior via family and educator support. And then we will have a presentation about a new trial that we are starting. Well, we will have as one component the Incredible Years program, and then another presentation about the implementation of the program. And if we have time, I will take Chloé Farrer's place to talk a little bit about her own program, which she's setting up in France, also to do the Incredible Years program. So, there are 3 main reasons why prevention in childcare services is gaining momentum in Canada, in France, and perhaps also a little bit in the United States. One is the fact that the scientific evidence is building on the fact that we can prevent most effectively disruptive behaviors if we start early. For some people, early means conception, at conception. For other people, early is prior to school entry. What we know is that there are some classic studies with follow-up up to adulthood, which have done prevention programs at the ages, at preschool ages, and which have shown very good cost effectiveness for these interventions. These classic studies, the Carolina Abecedarian Project, the Perry Preschool Project, have been taken up by social policymakers as the or one important solution to prevent disruptive behaviors at the population level. And so there are several countries which have implemented early childcare services, and which is based, and the services are based on this notion that if we bring children into childcare, and if we do work with them on disruptive behaviors, we can prevent behavior problems. Now this, from efficacy to effectiveness, there are huge gaps, and as we know, taking a best practice program and bringing it to a population level is a huge challenge, so it may not work as well as we hope. And I will speak a little bit about that in my own presentation about the situation in one of the Canadian provinces where we have implemented a population-wide universal childcare program in the hope to prevent problems in children, and now it brings different challenges. So there is the science, there is the political, the social policy context, which is very favorable to the prevention of disruptive behaviors via support to parents and childcare educators. And so the question is, what should we do to do this work well? What is the evidence? What are the best practice programs that have shown impact? And this is why we gathered around Carolyn Webster Stratton, because her program is one, or I think I can say the program which has the most robust evidence on its role as a preventive tool for disruptive behaviors among high-risk children. So Carolyn, thank you for being here.
So anyway, I want to just thank you. I'm so pleased to be here today and to hear about your studies, and I really appreciate that. It's particularly meaningful to me. Do I need my microphone?
Yes, please. We don't hear.
Huh? Yeah, you can just pull it up.
I know I feel like now I'm a rock dancer or something. I'm not used to these. Ken, does that help?
Yes.
Oh, I'll have some trouble with my puppet, but okay, we'll see what we can do. I'm especially pleased because you may or may not know this, but I am Canadian, and so to see a project being done in Quebec, actually is where my father's born, is particularly meaningful to me, so thank you so much. So I wanted to start by introducing to you my friend, Antonio. And he's sitting here, he's been waiting very patiently, but I may have to put the microphone down because I'm not sure if I'm going to do this. I need one of those lavaliers. Oh yeah, that'll work. That's good problem solving. Oh, Antonio, will you come out and talk to us? We got it, I think. Thank you.
Wonderful.
We had some help. All right. Oh, nobody's saying hi to me. So much better. I got worried there. Oh, man. Well, I asked you to come today to talk about something. Yeah, you did, but you know what? I'm not that comfortable doing that. These big, important-looking people over here. I think you can do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Why don't you try? Can you hear me all right? Yes. Oh, good. Well, I try my Spanish, but I'm a little nervous about that, so I'll try my Canadian if I can. Yeah. Okay, you can go ahead and talk. Oh yeah, what she asked me to do is introduce myself. So I'm Antonio, and I'm, how old am I? I'm 6 years old. You know that? That's right. And what were you going to talk about? Well, I wanted to talk about when I was 5. And when I was 5, I was having a few problems. And, well, actually, it's kind of hard to talk about. It almost makes me sad to think about it. I was kind of getting in trouble at school because I couldn't sit still. And the teachers were really, what's that word? That F, not the F you're thinking of. Frustrated. And I didn't have any friends either. Don't you think that would be hard? Yes. Yeah, and then I went home, and my parents, well, they were really having trouble with me. And they seemed to be they thought I couldn't hear or something like that because they kept speaking louder and louder at me. And I really could hear. So, you know what they did? I think you know, Marie? They went to this program. They went to this incredible program. And you know what happened? Well, first of all, the teachers, they started to say nice things to me and tell me that I was sitting still and noticed once when I shared. Wow, I felt so much better all the time. Really. And I went home, and guess what happened there? My parents became kind of incredible too. I mean, well, they gave me a sticker one time because I was helping out. And I was listening to them. You know, they told me that I had listening ears. You want to check them out? They're pretty good. And so I became, like, I kind of thought I was kind of incredible myself. Don't you think I am?
You are.
Yes, you are. Yeah. And so what I wanted to come today was when I wanted to tell you how you could help other kids be incredible, just like me. Yeah. Because it just feels really good. Yeah. That's a good story, Antonio. Yeah, I think people like that story. Does that make you feel happy?
Yes.
Yeah, because there really is something you can do. I guess I better go now. I kind of like this, though. Bye. As you can tell, we use puppets a lot. Everything I do, but I have a lot more comfort using puppets when I'm working with children than I do standing up here in front of people. Somehow when you see the child respond to you and they interact and they ask questions and so on, you lose all that. Jerry Patterson once told me about 25 years ago when I brought my puppets to his place and I demonstrated them. He said, Well, this was really interesting, Carolyn, but don't do that in front of any other professionals. I think he was worried about me. Okay, so what I plan to do today is you were asking me to do two things. One is to go through one of the parenting programs, and the other is to go through the teacher program. And I'm hoping, time-wise, keep track, that I'll get to show you a little bit of the teacher program because it is the newest program. And I'm hoping that I'll find some wonderful person who wants to do a randomized controlled trial with that program, which is called Incredible Beginnings. So I'll start first. This. Maybe I have to hold this. May not go that far. That over a little bit. That should work. Okay, so just to introduce you to some of Antonio's friends, we also have Freddie Feelings and Felicity Feelings on the top right, and Antonio and his sister Sienna, and Wally Problem Solving at the bottom, and Molly Manners. So any of you who know the dinosaur program will know those folks. The goals of the Incredible Years program, right from the get-go, I did my very first study in 1979, so that tells you how long I've been at this business. And I will say, for those of you who are doing it or are interested in doing it, it's a very reinforcing thing to do. It's just been such joy in my life that I don't plan to give it up, because it's lots of fun. But the goals have been to try to improve the parent-teacher-child relationships, reduce the harsh discipline, increase the support for both teachers and parents, and improve the homeschool communication, as well as to increase the children's social competence, emotional regulation, problem solving, and school readiness, and ultimately to reduce their aggression and their what we call the time conduct problems. The long-term goal that if we did this at a young age, that we could then predict, we could reduce and prevent delinquency and drug abuse and school dropout in later years. Those goals are a little bit different from 1980, only in the sense that I incorporated more of teachers as I went on to develop the teacher program. So there are a number of different parenting programs, and as you can see, they are now, they're in separate programs by age. And I have found that that's really important because parents get very confused about what parenting strategies to use at particular age groups. So they're perhaps using something like timeout with a toddler, or they're using problem solving with a toddler, which are not developmentally appropriate. So we wanted to truly help it and take the parents of children of a particular developmental age and help them know what were the developmentally appropriate strategies for them to be using for their children. And the one that I'm going to talk about today is the one where the arrow is there where it says preschool for 3 to 6-year-olds. But you can see that there's a separate baby one. We also are trialing one now in well baby care, so we can offer it during well baby care visits. And up through school ages is up to 12 years. And the advanced program is a program designed for, we use it with our high-risk treatment populations, so it's designed for helping parents with their own interpersonal problems and for management, depression management, building support systems, problem solving, and so on. At the top, the one from the bottom have had quite a lot of randomized trials. The blocks that are on the next level up have had less randomized trials done, so we're hoping that we'll get some new folks wanting to do that. The attempt parenting program is a universal. I developed that for Norway, and they wanted to be able to bring the program to every parent in Norway. So it's a shorter program. And we're now trialing in New Zealand the autism one for parents of kids on the spectrum and for teachers who work with those kids. I'm going to start with a video, if I can figure out how to use this, because it gives gives you, I think, a quick overview. All right.
The Incredible Years parent programs are used worldwide to train parents of children from birth to 12 years. There are separate curricula for parents of babies, toddlers, preschoolers, and school-age children. The programs are composed of 12 to 20 weekly group sessions led by 2 trained facilitators. Using prevention protocols for parents of children without significant behavior issues, or treatment protocols for parents whose children have conduct problems or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
You know you're not supposed to hit each other, you're going to have to do a timeout.
The foundation of the program has to do with building the relationships or the attachments between the parents and the children. And we do that through teaching them about how to play with their children, how to follow their lead, how to nurture and love them without really being too directive, too controlling.
It's nice asking, Joanne. Whenever you're using the ignore, there's a whole lot of positive to the other behavior that you want instead.
The attention that's given to the child for that positive behavior is so powerful because children want that attention so much. And usually they misbehave to get the attention. So now they figure out, oh, if I share, I'm going to get my parents' attention. It's powerful.
As an effective facilitator, you learn to tailor the program to meet the individual needs of families, and this is a really crucial part to its effectiveness.
One at a time, right?
I go first. No! I think!
No.
You put it on now!
Charlie?
The first meeting we had, I saw that this is something I need, it's something Charlie needs, and we weren't going to miss it.
You get one warning about that. It was the right direction for us to head in, because not only did Charlie need support, but we needed support.
It was interesting being there, seeing that we weren't alone in this. There's all these other parents with children just like mine.
In that room, in that safe environment, we all trusted each other. We all liked each other, and we all had something that we could relate to.
And then you start seeing the changes, and you go, I don't know why it works, but it works. I'm sold.
Estás haciendo muy finito, ¿verdad?
I think the part about the Incredible Years that was most valuable to me as a parent was the intentionality of time, specifically with your child. And I really saw the difference. Good job, Mike. Beautiful.
We were both on the same page through that, and so it united us as a couple.
We gained new skills too that we'll use for the rest of our life.
It gives you your family back in a complete way.
This program is really about positive working relationships, both for families and for professionals working with the program, and it's a collaborative process.
And it has to go with it and
Providing you follow those key principles, then I've seen this program work across all cultures and all people from all backgrounds.
Just follow their lead and appreciate whatever they're saying.
The parents respond correct. They love those days. And this was the only one thing that to some of these parents opened their mind, and they were extremely happy about it.
Even if you're a single parent, you're home alone, that just spending time loving my child and playing with my child is a gift that doesn't cost anything and can make a huge difference to my child's future. Seeing kids blossom, seeing them grow, seeing them feel confident, it's an incredible privilege.
Everybody always says, when you have a child, they don't come with a manual. No, we have the manual. The Incredible Years is the manual. It will strengthen your marriage, it will strengthen your relationship with your children, it will help you raise happy, healthy children who are great contributors to society.
So I would say that it's really not the manual. I think what you do in these groups is you help them fall in love with their kids again and have partnerships, have support systems, that they're all working on this together. The power group support is tremendous, and I have over the years done some studies just looking at what would happen if we didn't do it in a group. So we did it individually versus in a group, and the group makes a huge difference to that. And I think we were way back in the 80s, starting with the group approach. I got a lot of pushback. parents aren't going to want to do that. They aren't going to want to disclose. Fathers aren't going to want to come. Yeah, they're a bit nervous about it, but once you see how it works in a collaborative way, they are very sad when the program's over and they want it to continue. What we're trying to do with the preschool program, and by the way, just in terms of thinking what we were talking about this morning, I think it's all about relationships, whether it's the relationships between the group leader and the parent that's being modeled. The parent sees that and sees how important that is to do with their children. So while I've been asked a lot to try to do video training without any personal face-to-face, I think I'm really a strong believer that the practice part of this, working together is really important. The parents feel that you're confident about their ability to do this work. It makes a huge difference. In child welfare, I remember a father telling me one time, it says, almost as if you're treating us like you want us to treat our children. And then he went on to tell me how he had been treated in child welfare. And so he wasn't used to that kind of feedback that, we believed he was going to be able to do this. I think it's that process that's an important part of making the program work. So we're trying to with this program, deal with teaching the self-regulation skills to children, promoting secure attachment, and beginning social and friendship skills for this age group. Those are the key, what I see as the key developmental milestones for this age group. The pyramid is really our, if you will, roadmap for the whole program. So we start at the bottom by building this foundation of the relationship between the parent and the child. And a lot of that is through child-directed play and our various coaching methods. We have emotion coaching, we have academic coaching, persistence coaching, and we have social coaching, of course. So we teach those things. In some ways, somebody mentioned it helps the parents be in the moment with the child, to be looking for the things the kids are doing and be there with them, describing that social skill that they just see. And then we work, that's at least half of the program, the bottom two levels there in the pyramid, and then we go up to the positive discipline approaches. So this is the bottom of the pyramid here, and I just want to mention that the prevention is a total of 14 two-hour sessions once a week, and the treatment is 18 to 20 sessions for high-risk populations, or populations where the children do have a diagnosis. And I won't go through the details of the content, but just to show you how they are layered. It's very important to go in a sequence, starting at the bottom. Sometimes we have to stay with we do a lot of this with the state of Washington, child welfare for families. Sometimes we have to spend more on the bottom part of the foundation before we can move on to the discipline, so that we have sure that we have a strong relationship piece going on. So we're promoting the parent-teacher collaboration here as well. Now here I want to spend a couple points on the way the program is delivered. I think the methods and the processes of the delivery of this program are as important, or perhaps more important even than the content. It's a collaborative process where we start with the parent goals, what it is they want to achieve. I noticed that was what Danny Shaw presented to in his program this morning, and we started with parent goals. It's, as mentioned, group-based to support the social support. We use videos, I will show you one little clip, to prompt the discussions and the problem solving amongst the parents. And it is not a mastery model, it's a coping model. So how we learn from our experiences. So we go home and we try something out that we haven't done before in terms of home activities, and we come back and tell the group how it went, and then work out any problems that we had. So we're always coping and learning from our experiences. And that's true for, I now have a 34-year-old and a 32-year-old, and I'm still having new parenting experiences. It's always a learning process. It's very experiential. So contrary to what I'm doing right now, I normally, if I have just 30 minutes, I would have been doing practice with toys, because I think the best learning comes with all of the practices that you do. They have a difficult home activity, right away we're going to say, let's see what it looks like. Let's try it out and see if we can come out with a different response. So that practice piece is really important. We do individualize, because they all have their own goals, so we're always looking at, you've got a group, but you're also looking at the difference in terms of the goals, but also the different children. So even though you have parents of children ages 3 to 6, they're at all really different developmental stages. Some may have language delays, some may be more impulsive than others. There's just such a variety there. So we're addressing the individual children's needs. They do get home activities they're asked to do every week. And we always provide dinner, daycare, transportation. Our prevention studies were all done with Head Start families, and that was very important for us to be able to get people there. We had to provide the meals and the daycare. So just a brief summary of the research. With our treatment studies, we ourselves have done 8 randomized controlled trials. And there's been 6, I actually think there's been more than that now, independent replications, all of which are showing changes in positive parenting behaviors. Really, that's positive parenting. It's responsive parenting. You might say it's promoting positive attachment between the parent and child, decreasing the harsh discipline. That's why we're doing that for the child welfare referred families a lot now in our state and some other places as well. We've seen reductions in parent depression, increased parent self-support, self-confidence, and then reductions in conduct problems. So we have done, I did an 8-year follow-up, and Stephen Scott in England also did a 10-year follow-up on their families. And he did find for the treatment families, 10 years later, a significant difference between parents who got the Incredible Years program and the other parents got their usual mental health services. So it could have been child therapy, it could have been individual counseling, it was whatever was being offered in the clinic. So that if you're interested in the follow-up, that's a really good paper to look at. In our own study, we did not have an untreated control group because we had a waitlist control group, so they had to wait a year, so we didn't have that comparison. What we did to compare outcomes was to look at what the normative data was for the U.S. on involvement in the criminal justice system, drug abuse, and pregnancy, and so forth. And we found that our kids were in the normal range for that on our follow-up. We've done studies for prevention, as I mentioned, for high-risk populations, and there's been at least 8 independent replications with very similar results. This one, did I go backwards? Yes. Sorry. I want to show you this one before I move on to the next program, just to show you what one vignette would look like. Let's see if I can do it. This is a vignette parents would see.
This is a thermometer. We're calling that thermometer.
Stop.
Stop. That's when you're in the red, when you feel really mad.
This is, oh, it went back. I'm sorry, I thought it would pause in the middle. It doesn't. I'll have to show you the beginning again, sorry. But let me tell you, this is part of the, when we're talking about teaching kids how to calm down, and we use the calm down thermometer.
This is a thermometer. It's a calm down thermometer.
Stop.
Stop. That's when you're in the red, when you feel really mad and you're really angry. If you want to yell or break things, then you're right up here. And that's when you think.
You do that always.
You stop. You think stop. And then you
I
wait.
can do the yellow.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you take, what do you do here? You take 3 deep.
What?
3 deep breaths. So if you're feeling really mad, you can put the arrow here and you can say, Papa, I'm mad.
Papa, I'm mad.
And then you say, I'm going to stop.
I'm
And then the turtle, this is what the turtle does. The turtle takes, he's opening his mouth, he's taking a deep breath, he's going 3 times.
the arrow pink.
Yeah, and that's when he takes a deep breath, then the arrow comes from here. And maybe he's thinking about, the turtle's thinking about someplace he likes, like the ocean. He's thinking about standing on the beach and watching the waves of the ocean. And when he thinks about that, the arrow goes down even further. So the red one has a face like this. What is this face? You know, what does he feel like? Is he happy or mad? He's mad. Mad. What about here? What is this face? You think he's maybe sad?
There's a lot of work on teaching emotional literacy.
Maybe sad or worried?
You can tell this boy is on the spectrum?
Yes or no?
Yes.
How do you feel right now? Do you feel calm? Are you feeling mad right now, Duncan, or are you feeling calm? Calm. You feel pretty calm. That means you down here. Woo. Yeah, you just seem pretty calm.
So if we were showing that to parents, I have the capacity on my computer to pause it at various points, to point out and ask questions like, what's the dad doing now? What's the value of that? You know, what effect is it going to have on the child? How do you think the child feels? So we don't look at these like you watch TV. We show the vignette, pause them for discussion. What do you think? Do you think that's something you could do? Might that be done at school as well? All of that. So all of these video vignettes are mediated in that way with open-ended questions. And then we get the ideas from the parents, and we keep track of those, you know, sort of their strengths and how they see it would work, or their ideas and how they would do it. And we write those down with the parent's name next to it. So we're really trying to empower the parents' ideas through the use of videos. Does that make sense? So I think, you know, if you have a limited budget, starting with a parenting program is the way to go. People are always asking me, should you do parent first, child, teacher, what? But I think the parents are the most powerful socialization agents in children's lives. And we always try to get a partner to come as well, whether it's grandmother or whether it's boyfriend, you know, whoever it happens to be, that's also involved in the child's life. I think it's very important that everyone study showing, I think, the difference in terms of outcome. So next part is the teacher program. And we did a number of different studies where we added teacher to the program to see if we got more higher effect sizes, and then we added a child program to the program. I'm going to just very quickly go through the teacher classroom management one, which is for children ages 4 to 8. And we have quite a few studies for that program. But the reason I'm telling you about that is it was really the trigger or the stimulus for the Incredible Beginnings program, which is based on the same process and the same model. And so what we found there with the teacher program, it has a pyramid similar as the parent program does. And actually the teacher program has the same methods and processes in that it's done in a group. It's done in a collaborative way. It's done with video vignettes. It's those what we call the Incredible Years principles and processes of training. It's 6 days in general, once a month, and then between each time the teacher has assignments that they're to do, and then they come back and report on those. Some people have done it every 2 weeks, but we spread it out so there's practices between each session. We do find that where we do go in and do some coaching between sessions that we get, one study done by Keith and Randy Ranke found that we got better results when we add the coaching piece in as well. Topics you can see are a little bit similar in terms of we teach the teachers how to be good coaches, how to use appropriate discipline, and how to teach emotional literacy, problem solving, and social skills. We have only one randomized controlled trial with diagnosed children, and one of the things we did find that where we added the teacher program to the parent program, and these are for high-risk kids now, these are kids who are diagnosed with conduct problems, we did find that we had further improvements in the classroom, and further decreases in aggressive behavior. So if you had a child who was both aggressive at home and at school, if you use the parent program alone, it's not necessarily going to generalize to the classroom. And this kind of guarantees that. There have been about 9 RCTs now with the teacher program, and you can see there similar results in terms of reducing classroom aggression and increasing children's social skills. We've had at least 4 RCTs he's just come out in the last year from England, so and they've been doing quite a bit of work with the teacher program. So the one that I wanted to tell you about was the Incredible Beginnings. It's the same format and methods, but we take it down to daycare providers to up to children 1 year to 5 years. So for Head Start parents now, this is the one I would recommend that they use rather than the other one, which has older kids, and it shows. And just to tell you how it's different from the other program, TCM, we have 2 protocols, one for toddlers and one for preschool. We also have more vignettes about dealing with children with different developmental issues. They might be on the spectrum, they might have language delays, so we have examples of those sorts of things. We focus more on separation anxiety, ways to help parents with that, how to use visual prompts or supports and nonverbal signals in addition to the verbal language and coaching that they're going to use. There's an emphasis on prompting, reading, lots of pretend play, lots of use with puppets with the children, and helping the teachers and daycare providers really understand the ABCs of behavior. That's just kind of a quick how it's different, but of course these tapes are all new and updated and recent with just amazing teachers demonstrating. Probably that's enough, 6 to 7 full days to get through the program. So when we do the training, we're training the people that are going to deliver the program in their communities. Do I have time to show one brief? This one? Let's just give you a little example.
What do you want? I have berries, blueberries, and strawberries.
As we've seen, teachers and child care providers play an invaluable role in supporting and promoting children's social, emotional, and language development.
Berries. Okay, over to you. More berries. Look, they look sad.
And preparing them with the school readiness skills that they will need to be successful.
Oh, nice job, Cara.
The task of teaching is like learning to dance with choreographed steps designed according to the unique abilities of each partner.
Oh, that's awesome. I share with you.
In this program, we have seen how teachers adjust their teaching strategies according to the developmental level of each individual child.
You're squeezing it. Good morning. Hi. Hi, Miss Layton. Look, and the dogs are fun.
We started in Program 1 by discussing the importance of building relationships with the children and parents. Involving parents in sharing what is working with their child in preschool and at home cannot be underestimated.
Is he happy or mad? He's mad.
In the long run, it promotes support for both teachers and the parents. For the child, it makes all the difference. Let's review a few of the teaching principles we discussed.
I think I'll stop it there because I want to show you, but I don't want to get over my time. It just gives you a little bit of a preview of what some of the vignettes look like, and they're used in the same way with the teachers. They love watching them and get lots of ideas and share ideas with each other about using them. So our studies have shown that where we add the teacher, we do get added higher effect sizes and added effects across settings. So this is where you've got consistency between the home and the school in terms of the language that's being used by the parents and by the daycare providers or the teachers. I'm not going to go through the child program, just so you know there's a dinosaur program, both a classroom one and a treat one for children. It has a set of curricula that we do twice a week in the classroom. It does use the puppets. These puppets are a big part of the program. They come in with their problems and the kids help them solve their problems and act them out. And we have put a number of studies, both 3 randomized trials ourselves and 1 independent, showing improvements in the children's behavior, reductions in conduct problems. Also the prevention. We have a big prevention one that I hope to be able to tell you about someday. It is Head Start. It's being done by Duke, and we finished it. It is the combination of Incredible Beginnings program for Head Head Start teachers. So we'll be able to see what effects we get in the classroom with using Incredible Beginnings. But I still think if there's others who want to do research on that, that's a program I would love to see have more work done. I'm working on resource A for that.
Is that available?
Oh yeah.
It's rolling out.
Oh yeah, we're training in it, people are using it. It's having a lot of success in England. They have been pre-post, but what we want is to do it on RCT. Yeah, we'll train in it. We're recommending it.
With Head Start now, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But Duke has done a very large, we've been working with them for 5 years, a large RCT with the program. So that'll be kind of a definitive study. And I don't have those results yet, but it should be out this year. Finishing with this, just one you probably saw, our measures, because that was one of the things you wanted me to talk about. And all of the studies are both parent reports, mother-father, teacher reports, and direct independent observations. In the classroom, we did them in the laboratory, and we did them in the home. I've never done a study that I didn't do independent observations. For me, that's where I'm able to see real behavior change is happening. The next part, Rachel is going to talk about, so I don't need to, because it's really about all the things we're doing to promote fidelity of the program delivery, and that's going to be your piece, right? And programs are delivered in lots of different places, whether it's Head Start centers, community health centers, jails. Really, there's just so many places we can bring parenting programs to them. Businesses, some businesses are doing it, doctors' offices. I thought you just might like to see this, especially the Canadians. We have trained 2,500 people in Canada. So this is training in all 3 programs, but just so you can see the different countries where we have programs going on. Oops, I didn't mean to show you all of those, sorry. So just in summary, I think we really know with this program and other evidence-based programs, such as David Old's program over there with Nurse Partnership Program, we really do have evidence-based programs that work, and we know we can make change. And and the Nurse Partnership Program has great long-term outcomes. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt there that we know how to do it. It's just now how do we get people to use them, and to use them with finality in a good way, and not try to cut corners and slice and dice them in different ways. So I hope that I can motivate somebody to try out some of these programs, or at least we'll be able to see what studies, what results we get in Quebec and France. Thank you.
So it makes more sense what Marie-Josée afterward. Marie-Josée Letact is a professor at the University of Sherbrooke, and she she participated in many of the RCTs that Caroline led, and she is working on implementation measures, the best way to measure implementation and implementation challenges, and she will be telling us about her work on this issue.
Can I ask a question while you're doing that? Do you have costs per family? Is that going to be covered?
Cost?
Yeah. Costs for programs to implement?
Yeah, it's all on the website.
Okay, so
I can talk with you afterwards if you like, but yeah, it's there, and you could call the office and talk to people and ask them all that information.
Is it already translated into a form?
We have it in Spanish. We now have it in Arabic. We have it in Portuguese. We have it in Danish, Norwegian, Dutch.
Awesome.
Wow.
But I put most of my emphasis in Spanish right now for all the parenting programs, baby, toddler, preschool. Yeah, because that's where I wanted to go. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for being here. I'm from Quebec, Canada, so it's the French part of Canada. You can hear that. If you don't understand my English, let me know. I would like to be sure you understand what I'm saying. So I'm happy to talk to you about the fidelity of implementation of Incredible Years, because it's been my topic of research for a while. And indeed, I'm studying the French version of Hawaii Incredible Years in Quebec. And I work mostly with and only with the parenting program for now. So, like Caroline said, we know that Incredible Years works, and we have a lot of evidences that we should do that. But the next step is to bring it to the population level and to have social workers or psychologists to use it with high fidelity, and so we get the same results that the RCTs got in the studies. So in Quebec, the program is being used in different contexts. So I was part of the researchers on all of these contexts. So we started with ADHD children in 2002. Then I worked with Caroline since 2002 now. It's been a long time. And then we also worked in health community center, but most of the research in Quebec have been in helping children who have vulnerabilities about school readiness and with child welfare families. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a little bit of why fidelity is so important to me and dissemination of the program, and then I want to talk a little bit about what is fidelity and its components, then how to assess fidelity in a doable way so that people can assess their fidelity and make sure they are doing the right thing, and finally I will talk to you about the keeping the fidelity over time. And we had data in the child welfare in Montreal where we had fidelity data over 10 years. So I'm going to show you these results. So, dissemination of an evidence-based program is a real challenge, because if we know that it works in the RCTs, it's been proven that it can help families, but the challenges are that when you change the context, oftentimes people who lead the program don't have the same time to prepare their sessions. They don't have the same budget to buy the rewards for the families, provide dinner for the families, the daycare. So we are like saying it's limited that money, so that oftentimes the fidelity goes down with the dissemination context. So here are some questions that I can ask about dissemination. Is it realistic to implement such a program in usual services? Can we all obtain these results? Is an RCT enough to test a best practice program? Because my argument is that we don't only need RCT, we need also RCT studies, of course, but even in RCT we have to document the fidelity, because if we don't document fidelity in RCTs, we don't know the results are for what has been done to get those results. So if we don't get the same results that Caroline did, is it because we didn't do the program correctly? We never know. So we need to monitor fidelity, I think, whenever you use those empirically supported programs. So fidelity and implementation, I think, is the assessment is a solution to these questions. So what am I talking about? The fidelity is the people who deliver the program do everything that is planned by the developer of the program, and did they add any undesirable component? So we have to do what is planned and nothing more and nothing less. That is fidelity component. So Duncan is a known researcher about fidelity, and she's documented 5 components of fidelity. So first one is the dosage. Are we providing sufficient quantity of the program to the families or the children? And then, are the participants involved in the program? Do they come to the program and do they engage in the discussions, and what is their attitude about the program? So it's the participation. this component is the only one which is not under the control of the institution to deliver the program. Adherence is how people who deliver the program do the activities that are planned. But it's more like a checklist. I've done that many role plays, I've shown that many vignettes. While quality of process is more like how do I engage with people, how do I show the vignettes, how do I mediate the vignettes, how do I relate to people I work with. And finally, we talk about adaptation. It's sometimes programs need to be adapted to some characteristic of the developmental or cultural needs. But in Incredible Years, we never had to really adapt the program because the collaborative approach that was developed by Caroline is just so easy to meet the needs of everyone. I don't think there is a need to adaptation. So I never assessed adaptation component. So how should we assess those? The first one, the dosage is the easiest. So of course we know how many sessions was offered, and we think everybody should have the dosage that was planned at the beginning. But so many things happen that dosage varies a lot. I can see that in the programs we use in Quebec, it varies between 16 and 20 sessions that are requested. And sometimes we have groups that work like 7 sessions for any reason. So the dosage is important to monitor, because if you don't have effects, maybe it's because you didn't offer this. And I wanted to highlight the length of sessions, because it's not only the number of sessions, but if the break takes half of the session, you have less of dosage. So it's important to document it, and it's not as easy to document. For the participation, we have 4 indicators, because of course the attendance is part of it, but we want people to provide makeup sessions for the parents who miss the session. So do parents come to the makeup share session is also important. So this is easier to assess, so it's up there. But we also need to know how people engage in the program, because Garvey shown that above attendance, the way people engage in the program is also related to their outcomes. So I use the Garvey's form to have the leaders of the program assess engagement after every session on a Likert scale, and they can document if the parents are engaged in the discussion and everything like that, but also if they do the homeworks or the practice between the sessions, because if they don't practice between the sessions, maybe the results won't be there. Okay, that is for adherence. Adherence is really specific to the programs, because we want to document if the people what was planned in the protocol. So Caroline provided the program with a checklist like this. Every session you know what you have to do, and you can check, did I do this, did I do that? So it's very easy to document, and at the end we can compute the results for the whole program, so we know how many vignettes were shown, how many role play were done, and everything, so that we can really know what the people in the program really received from it. And so it's very important. And I think this checklist really should be used by, of course, the leaders of the program, because they can have their own feedback, but also for researchers, because we don't oftentimes we're not relying on programs tool, but it's easy for the leaders to complete, and it's easy for us to use. So we gain time and energy, and people accept to fill the forms because it's easy. The more complicated part for the assessment of fidelity is, of course, quality, because it doesn't rely to just fill a questionnaire. It relies on how people interact together. So I think the better way to assess it would be to video the videotape or record the sessions, but it's not always possible. There are some indicators that we can use with questionnaires. So the first one is the parent group leader collaborative process checklist from Caroline. Also, she really documented what we should do in order with regard to our attitudes as a leader and how we organize the role plays, the vignettes, how do we welcome people. So with this checklist, the people know what is expected from them, and we can just like monitor if we deliver the program with high fidelity. So it's one tool that can be used. The other one, I'm using a scale of working alliance and notary to document the perception of the relationship between each parent and and each leader, because we lead the group 2 by 2, and so the parents can document after the third session, do they feel comfortable with the leaders? Do they feel like they are pursuing the same goals? Do they agree on the tasks that the family needs to pursue? So this is a tool that I use, and it's really related to the outcomes of the family. And finally, the satisfaction is related to quality, because it's kind of the parent giving the opinion of the quality of the program. So there are two different tools that are proposed with the program. The first one is the weekly satisfaction. At the end of each session, parents are asked to rate their satisfaction with the meeting. And at the end of the program, they also have a final satisfaction questionnaire, which is more elaborate. So just to show you that fidelity is possible over time, like I told you, we monitored fidelity in child welfare for 10 years. And there is a criteria from Kasdin and colleagues who said that maybe it's not possible to have 100% fidelity all the time. So he set up this criteria. And you see for the dosage, I made 3 columns so you can see that from 2003 to 5, we had always 100% of the session. But then with the time it went with less sessions and less sessions. You see that, so it's a kind of a worry to see that over time the dosage decreased. But when they saw those results, they made a solution, and now we can see that I think, but I didn't monitor it exactly now, but I think the dosage is going up, because when they saw that, they said that, oh, maybe there's a problem with it. You can see for the participation, the attendance is very high for child welfare population, because we have a lot of parents who attend less than 3 sessions. So if we have a mean of 71, it's very high for this population, but they hardly do their homeworks. And we see that the homeworks goes down over the time. We feel like if the workers are giving up on that sometimes, so we have to motivate the leaders so they enforce the homeworks. About adherence, we can see the role plays are going up, because the role plays are very important in the program, but at the beginning maybe the leaders were more comfortable with it. And with a lot of supervision over time, we see a big increase in the role plays. So we can see that with supervision and support, people are able to incorporate and improve their leading and the quantity of homework, the role plays they can do. And finally, I have only weekly satisfaction indicator for here, and it's very high for our people. They are very satisfied with the program, but and it's stable over time. So my conclusion would be that fidelity is possible on the long term, but we need to put in some tools to help on the way. So in this child welfare, I've been supporting them for all this time. So we have supervisions every year, but more than 5 or 6 days of every year. And also, there are in the manual of the program, there are a lot of documents that can be used to monitor fidelity and help, because the manual is so clear and complete that it's really easy to get fidelity and keep fidelity. So I was only like thinking about what can enhance fidelity, so I just put some indicators there. Thank you for your patience.
One question?
Yes.
You talked about adaptations if something wasn't working or if you needed to change something. Do you do that in the middle of a group or do you have to wait for the next group to start?
The adaptation?
Uh-huh.
Actually, we do not do any adaptation because the program do adapt itself to every individual. With the collaborative approach, it's very everyone wants to reward good behavior for their kids. But what kind of rewards are you going to use? Are you going to use or am I going to use? It depends on my value, and I think the program is open to these cultural aspects. The principle is if you are rewarding your child's good behavior, it's good, and the positive behaviors will improve. You understand? So
Yes.
adaptation is very easy in this way. Maybe Caroline, you want to
Well,
have something?
thinking about it as flexible, like, the number of sessions might be longer for some, our child welfare sessions sometimes are more than 14 at prevention or 18. So you're thinking about what the group's needs are, what their baseline knowledge level is. So working with our new immigrant families and some of our refugees takes us longer to go through the program because the ideas are also new and different. And we also have interpreters, which takes it longer. So that's built in, that's expected. So the number of sessions is considered to be the minimum. And you go up from there depending, just like in individual therapy, it depends on the needs of the group and the people you have there and how many there are. But that's built into what it means to do the program with Fidelity. If you get to be rigid and this is just like a cookie cutter and it's the same thing for everybody, it's not being done right. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Thank you.
And if I can add, for the dosage, like in this agency in Montreal, the dosage is fixed to 16 sessions. But sometimes they won't get to the end of the disciplinary session if they feel that the relationship, the basis of the pyramid is more, they have to work more about that. Sometimes it's just but they have to stop after 16 sessions because of time management, and it's a real word, but and sometimes they have parents come back to another session because they continue improving their practice.
So we work with immigrant families, and many of them, the majority, work amazing amount of hours. So for us to ask them to come in an evening, even though we always provide childcare and food and you name it, we don't get as much attendance as we want, and we were wondering if it's wise to offer a stipend. Have you tried offering a stipend? And is that stipends is like money, like a little bit of money to pay for the gas or whatever. Have you tried doing that, or is that a no-no in terms of fidelity?
It's we don't have we do not pay for the participation, but indeed we can refund the bus use if the family needs. We have bus tickets so that we give it to them. We provide dinner, but we are not paying the parents. It's a child welfare. Some of the parents are on a voluntary process, but others are ordered to be there. But we don't see difference in engagement if the parent was on the voluntary basis or not. And this is very interesting for the people in the child welfare, because they said, I don't want people who are forced to be there and wait, because and after a couple of weeks we don't see any difference. Maybe the first week people are more like this, but after a couple of hours together we cannot see any differences in the group, and we have a videotape, and I cannot see after a couple of weeks which parent is voluntary or not.
We'll, if we have time afterwards, we'll do more questions. So I will do this presentation with my two colleagues who are responsible for the intervention. So we are starting a new trial in Canada, and this is a bit of context about this trial. So in the Canadian province of Quebec, where about 8 million people live, 70% of them are French, from descent from France. So some policymakers had this idea of using prevention in childcare evidence to set up a universal childcare program. So this is the notion that we can take an RCT and give it to the entire population and it's going to do well. Well, in fact, there were two objectives to the policy. One was to allow mothers to work more easily, and the second was to prevent problems in the children, school readiness, boost school readiness, reduce social inequalities. These are the rates of maternal employment following the introduction of the policy in 1997. So the rate of maternal employment was 64%, and now it's up to 80%. It's the highest in Canada. Well, it was the lowest. And Quebec has one of the highest rate of maternal employment among the OECD countries. So it really did reach its objective for maternal employment, which generates good economic outcomes. And so this is good because most families use the services, and there is a lot of social mixity in the services as compared to places where childcare costs $500 per week. So childcare costs $8 per day for families with moderate low income. It's free for those who have really low income, who are in poverty. And it was $5 per day initially, the program. So there is social mixity, but there is also a lot of children with developmental risk and problems, which raises significant concern about how to support all these people. Some may think it's a paradox, but the best quality of care is given in the public network and not in the for-profit services. So the public childcare network is really doing well, and we're trying to reinforce it because it's the best among all the types of childcare services, but the quality is not what we want. The workforce is trained, but not trained enough to give high quality as measured by the classic measures like the ECHRs. And so we are coming in with money from federal research funds to boost the quality in childcare and to do something that people have always wanted to do in this network, which is to support families, to accompany parents in their parenting with Carolyn's program. In toddlerhood, because we start in toddlerhood, children have the highest rates of oppositional, physical aggression, and tantrums in their lifetime. So there's a peak at age 2. Parents are often overwhelmed, especially if the child is at risk for serious problems. And so we come in at this time where socialization is really a key developmental milestone to support children and parents. The origin of the program, so there is a parent program and an educator program. And the origin of the program, very briefly, is from the Montreal experimental study, which was led by Richard Tremblay and Frank Vitaro in the 80s, where they chose to use pro-social peer pressure. So peer pressure is really important, even in early childhood, we know now, but at the time we were working with children aged 7 to 9. Peer pressure is a huge factor, motivational factor, and so they use the peer pressure to bring up the level of social behaviors in the group. So they paired one disruptive child with 4 pro-social peers, and for 2 years these kids did activities together. the impact on the long term were meaningful of this RCT in terms of reduction of alcohol and illegal drug use, in terms of reduction of physical aggression, stealing, vandalism, in terms of high school graduation, and criminality. Now, following this, 30 years later, France, Isabelle, and the team developed a set of programs to harness that pro-social peer pressure using puppets. So the notion of social skill via using puppets is the same as that in other programs. And we pilot tested the early childcare component in a randomized controlled trial recently, where we have shown, so this is just to show that the puppet is helping children to calm down with different strategies, and we have showed impact on cortisol levels of the program. So that given that it's very stressful for children in daycare settings to be around other children who hit each other, we reason that social skills could reduce levels of stress as measured by cortisol, and we've shown it, and that the impact was stronger in lower SES children. So the ICAR trial, which will start in the fall, has 3 objectives: showing or testing the effectiveness of a daycare versus a home-based intervention, testing putative biological and social mechanisms for the program, its effect, and cost effectiveness of the intervention. So the parenting program is much more expensive than the daycare educator program, and we want to compare cost effectiveness of these 2 modalities. So this is the design. We go into daycare centers in socioeconomically disadvantaged neighborhoods, and we randomize them to 4 conditions: either educator training only, parent training only, educator plus parent training, and control group. And we have funding to follow them up until age 7 years. And we also have funding to collect air samples to measure the impact on stress, and buccal epithelial cells for measuring epigenetic markers, which I'm very happy about, because this idea that adversity has some impact on the biology is very interesting, but it's best tested in RCTs.
Could you explain the controls? Who are the controls, and how do you keep them in the trial?
The controls are so this is presented as a cohort study to all families, and we tell everyone that you will receive one of 4 interventions. Either your child will receive something in the childcare, you will be offered a program, your educator and you, or just information about health behaviors. And it's going to be random. And we're going to do the randomization publicly, like a lottery. And then Isabelle, if possible, will tell you about the intervention.
Thank you, Sylvain. Thank you all to be here. Obviously, I'm from the French part of Canada also, and exciting to be here. So, a few words about the intervention. Maybe I'll just skip those quickly. But yes, we want to be adding training to early childhood educators, working with toddlers and working with them for 2 years. And we're so happy to be able to implement the parent training component program by Karen. So it's, yes, multimodal. It's so exciting because we know now, and with all that research, because this intervention, the eye care intervention, comes from a long history of longitudinal studies, intervention that started, like Santana said, with 8-year-olds, and then we went down to 5-year-olds, and we finally were so intervening early. And then it's exciting to say we're going to start with toddlers, working with them, their educators, and their parents. But then also it's challenging because, yes, all about making sure that parents see this as an opportunity, not something that is will maybe label them. So we're going to work and try things. So we say we're innovative, right? We're not saying we're doing something that no one else did. And when we see all that great work that Caroline Webster-Stratton did, we know we have to learn from this work. But we're saying we're innovative because we're going to be implementing something new from the daycare. So we're going to be offering those parenting groups in the daycare setting. So when, one of the mitigation strategies we thought of was to be offering in the same, the parent would come and pick up their child. So, for a few weeks, 14 weeks at least, they will be receiving those that offer. And it's something new, and as Eden explained, the public daycare system in Quebec, was really implemented 22 years ago in 1997. And the project then was to make sure that we support parents from the daycares. This is what, those CPE, Centre de la Petite Enfance, that public daycare system was all about. But then 22 years later, the networks say, well, now we think we're ready. So they're quite excited about, they're partners with us, and they're quite excited about the fact that we're going to be working with parents with them in the daycare centers. Also, it's not a first, but working with different partners, experts in the network, experts from the field, experts in knowledge transfer, research. It's the first time that we're going to be all working together. We know each other. We've been there for 20 years or so, supporting, providing training, conducting evaluation, but then we're all working together in this project. So the educator training component will really be twofold. So we're going to be, yes, training early childhood educators to implement a social skills training program. So this is our puppet. He's not as cute as yours. But the idea is, this is the mini Patty character. He's a friend for our children, and we hope he becomes a friend to early childhood educators because we want them to have fun using that puppet with facilitating discussions. So it's very simple. It's 15 minutes at the most, those workshops. It's 16 workshops, for maybe to be implemented over 10 months. So you have time to have those discussions. But I've been working with those tools for the last 20 years in the network, and our main challenge is to explain to early childhood educators, manager of those daycare centers, that it's not magical. It's not because you bring the puppet to your site that's going to have, that impact in every of those things that we want to work with. So self-regulation, pro-social skills, social emotional competency, and problem solving. You have to be involved. You have to be sure that you will make some time on a day-to-day basis to encourage those behaviors, to, yes, use a lot of positive reinforcement. It's not about that visit of 15 minutes with the puppet. It's all the work that you will do around it. So children, they love it, of course, and it's been there for, it's funny because it was created at the same time as the public daycare system in Quebec in 1997. The daycare centers, they know about it, but still it comes with training. And what we see is the training needs to be more intense, and we need to provide a little more support to make sure that fidelity is there, to make sure that really the changes occur. So, yeah, I won't talk about the parent training. It's obviously the incredible years the choice was made were exciting, and we're going to be offering, as I said, from the daycare centers, those group training. One thing I wanted to say is in Quebec, The collaborative approach that Carolyn Roxas-Fedden so well described and implemented. We think we do it. Okay, I used to work directly with children in school and daycares, and I provide a lot of training. And I said, "Oh, I must be using the collaborative approach." But then we started receiving training with Marie-Josée in Quebec about the incredible years, and we could experiment. France was there, Savannah was there, I was there, trying to understand all about that collaborative approach, the way we work with parents. And we were thinking, well, do we really do that when we facilitate groups of parents, in our practice? And we think it's not that much used or understood or really in practice. So it's a challenge, and we need to change that expert posture that we may have. So we're in training, and we have a lot, and we're going to be training professionals to make sure that we have 30 daycare centers to support. So it's interesting. And then just the other component of the educator training would be to provide them with coaching, a lot of supervision, and we're so happy because with the partnership that we have established, we will be able to provide an average of 60 hours of training, clinical supervision over the 2-year period during the time of the intervention. We're going to be starting with toddlers and working with them when it's going to be 3 years. Our main objective with providing that much support with the childhood educators is, of course, making sure that those practices become natural on a day-to-day basis, that it influences the way they support children, and it becomes, something that triggers a little bit more the sense of belonging among children, peer support, the positive climate that might be there. And of course, we want to work with the educators, and I was so interested in listening to you, Karen, when you were saying, the way we work also with our childhood educators should be the same way we work with parents in a collaborative way. So we need to work on this. The partners that will work with us into supporting early childhood educators, they already use that collaborative way of training and supporting early childhood educators, but still we want to make sure that we are in coherence with the parent training, the way we work with parents and the way we want to work with early childhood educators. And of course the strategies should match, right? The one that we're going to be teaching the early childhood educators, knowing what is what is the training parents for. So I was stressed. I hope my cortisol level was not too high. And I hope I didn't raise yours. Thank you, and I will let my colleague answer first.
Thank you, Isabelle and Savannah. So iCare in Quebec, Canada, is a very exciting project that will start very soon. We still have a lot of work to do, and the whole team is totally dedicated into making this project a success. Still, there are real challenges to address right away. So I'm going to present these challenges. So the first one, the iCare project is a new service in Quebec. It will be the first time that we will offer a complete intervention in daycare, including parent training and educator training. So in Quebec, we have the same kind of service in the school system, in pre-K and kindergarten, but we don't have this services in daycare. So rigorous monitoring will be essential. So we will work with 60 daycares to support over a 3-year period, 480 parents to engage and work with directly, 150 early childhood educators, and pedagogical aid to train and support during the first 2 years of the project, 8 professionals to be hired and engaged for 3 years, and we need to ensure quality and stability of these professionals, and we will have to ensure educators' adherence. The implementation implementation of the parent training modality is a major challenge for us. Why? Daycares do not offer direct and well-structured support to parents. There is no well-established professional expertise in implementing parenting support groups using the collaborative approach proposed in the Incredible Years Parent Program. Like Isabel said, we have to change our paradigm for professionals. They use individual approach, so we have to work with them to change their mind. Another challenge is to make sure we reach out to and engage parents of the most vulnerable children. We have to identify the best strategies, and that these strategies need to be adjusted for 30 different centers in respect of their unicity. We also have to ensure adherence of parents, and the logistic is complex in terms of resource and time needed to engage parents over time. So we care about the future, and we have to consider the feasibility and sustainability of the eye care intervention. So we have to think about the network capacity in the long term. So, and finally, we have strategies to address these challenges. The first one, and probably the most powerful one, is to work in partnership. So we will be 15 researchers from 6 universities, team with expertise in implementing research projects in partnership with networks. We have knowledge transfer experts in prevention of violence, and we work with public daycare association. Also, we have involved key actors of the public daycare system right from the start. We consult. It is not easy to do, but it's a must. We identify a key actor within each daycare for reaching out and recruit parents. We are in the processing of inviting and qualify and experience professionals will deliver the intervention, and now we will carefully train and supervise them. We also have a frequent meeting and exchange between the research team, the intervention team, and each daycare. We will have annual conference with daycares and incentive for daycares. In our past experience, it showed that it's a winning strategy to do this with the daycares. We are grateful to be able to count on in-kind and cash investment from partners committed to our projects. So from a researcher point of view, it's very exciting and stimulating. So of course, the last one is piloting is very important because, as I mentioned earlier, we are submitting to evaluation a new practice. So it's very important to have piloting. So there's a lot of work to do ahead, but it's so exciting to work with the very youngest citizen to prevent violence and promote life well-being for them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So it's already past 5. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 questions and yes.
Is this program being used anywhere in the United States and so where?
So Carolyn Webster Stratton's program, the parenting program, yes, in many countries in the world. And the other one, the mini Pali program, is no, it's in French and it's been used for 20 years in Quebec.
Not in the United States.
No, not yet.
In Russia.
Oh, in
In
Russia
Russia first.
In Russia, well, in France actually, but it has not been used in the United States.
Do you have preliminary data on engaging parents?
We do in another program, not on this one. Maybe, Hans, do you want to talk about this with Floppy or?
Okay. We have the same program in kindergarten, and at the beginning of the year, the school year, we ask to parents to complete a questionnaire, and the teacher has to complete the same questionnaire. And when we see that the child has problems in the two environments, we offer to parents to be implied on the parenting training. And at the beginning of in kindergarten, we have 90% of parents who complete the questionnaire. So for us, it's a good time to reaching out parents at the beginning of the school. So I think that it's a challenge to recruit parents in the childcare. So we really will use the expertise that we developed with the Floppy program in kindergarten. But it's a challenge to recruit parents at the first year that we will evaluate the program. So
you provide childcare for other children in the families?
Yeah, we will do. In this project, we will do, and we will provide dinner and maybe other incentive that will encourage parents to participate in the program.
Thank you.
We will be hard to avoid. Yes.
So did I understand that 20 years ago there was not a big investment in early childhood education in Canada?
Absolutely. In Quebec.
In Quebec. This is just Quebec.
It's still low in terms of.
And then, of course, we've been talking about it here, and it's very slow coming.
Right.
And so, was there pushback at that point, or has it been a success all the way through?
No, there's been. So parents the public are enthusiastic about the program, but the next government, the one after the one that implemented the policy, had a lot of pushback because it's very expensive, and there was some discussions about whether it was cost effective. Now economic studies show that it's cost effective. It's not saving money, but it's paying for the program is paying for itself, and so politicians are becoming more calm about it. But the public network has not developed at the same speed as it should have if there was the policy, the political will to do so. It's a very, people pay for these services one way or another. The question is, do they pay out of their own pocket or whether they pay through taxes? And so the mentality is propitious to people paying through taxes in Quebec. It's very propitious.
It's inspiring for us to see these kinds of programs because we know how far we're falling behind.
Thank you.
Hi, Andy. Hi. How you doing?